In the entire dark history of the 20th century, there are very few acronyms that carry the same kind of horror as SS, the Schutzstaffel. It started as this tiny group of bodyguards, but it grew into a continent-spanning empire of pure terror. So the real question we're tackling here is how? How did this organization just metastasize from a simple protection squad into the main engine of the Holocaust? Let's get into it. So here's how we're going to break it down. We're going to trace this story in 5 parts, kind of following this cancerous growth from its very beginning through its ideological mutation, its takeover of the German state, to its ultimate role as the architects of genocide, and then finally its judgment after the war. The name itself, Schutzstaffel, literally just means protection squad. Pretty boring name for what it would become, right? Its origins were incredibly humble, just a small group of guys whose only job was to protect Adolf Hitler at party meetings. But that simple mission was the seed from which this absolutely monstrous organization would grow. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning, the creation and the early years of the SS. To really get why the SS was even created, you have to look at what came before it, the SA. The SA was huge, a massive paramilitary force. But they were also unruly, and Hitler was deeply paranoid about their loyalty. He needed a different kind of tool, something smaller, more elite, a unit whose fanaticism and discipline were aimed at him and only him. And that was the whole point of the SS. And its mission, honestly, was pretty mundane at first. When it was officially founded back in 1925, its entire job description was security at party rallies. That's it. Its membership was tiny, just a few hundred men, a total speck compared to the millions in the SA. But that was all about to change, and fast, with the arrival of one man. And this is where the story really takes a turn. This whole transformation was driven by one person, Heinrich Himmler. He's the one who would take this small bodyguard unit and completely mutate its identity. And the speed of this change under Himmler was just staggering. I mean, look at these numbers. When he took command in 1929, the SS had about 1,000 members. By 1933, just 4 years later, over 200,000. This wasn't just about getting more bodies. It was a total transformation driven by Himmler's radical and, frankly, bizarre new vision. So what was in Himmler's head? Well, his vision went way beyond soldiers or cops. He imagined this new secular priesthood, a modern knightly order. He wanted to combine what he saw as the discipline of the Jesuits, the warrior ethos of the Teutonic Knights, and the absolute ruthlessness of the samurai. He built this vision on a really potent, really toxic mix of ideas. Absolute loyalty was everything, captured in their motto, "My honor is loyalty." Then there was this obsession with racial purity, positioning them as some kind of biological elite. He even replaced Christian holidays with strange pagan rituals, all to forge this unique identity, completely separate from the rest of German society. Okay, so now you've got this ideologically forged weapon. What happens next? It starts to spread, infiltrating and basically consuming the very state it was supposed to be serving. And this takeover was just brutally quick and efficient. In the span of just 2 years, the SS seizes control of the secret police, the Gestapo. It eliminates its rival, the SA, in the bloody Night of the Long Knives, and then consolidates all German police forces under its command. The party's private army had literally swallowed the state. This all culminated in the creation of the RSSA, the Reich Security Main Office. It's a mouthful, I know. But basically, this organization merged the criminal police, the intelligence service, and the Gestapo into one terrifyingly powerful bureaucratic machine. And it was all under the command of one SS leader, Reinhard Heydrich. This was the central nervous system of Nazi terror. At the exact same time the SS was grabbing political power, it was also building the actual physical infrastructure of terror. It set up the very first concentration camp at Dachau in 1933, and this became the blueprint for all the camps that followed. The whole system was run by a special branch, the SS-Totenkopfverbände, or Death's Head units, who would become the hardened, brutal administrators of genocide. And this brings us to the war years. This is where the SS, now fully in control of the state's security apparatus, became the primary architect and perpetrator of the Holocaust. The sheer scale of the crime is, well, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. The SS systematically murdered somewhere between 5.5 and 6 million Jews, along with millions of other victims. And at every single stage of this horrific process, the SS was in command. In Eastern Europe, the genocide began with the Einsatzgruppen. These were mobile SS death squads that followed right behind the army. Their method was direct, it was personal, and it was brutal. Mass shootings. These units alone were responsible for the murder of over 2 million people. But believe it or not, mass shootings were eventually deemed too inefficient and psychologically damaging for the killers. This led to this chilling, methodical evolution in murder, from experiments with mobile gas vans to the so-called final solution of stationary death camps like Auschwitz. Literal factories built for the sole purpose of industrial-scale murder. And make no mistake, the SS didn't just murder, it profited. It built a massive economic empire that ran on slave labor. We're talking everything from stone quarries and weapons factories to bottling plants. The entire system was driven by a cynical and quite literal policy of extermination through labor. Just to put a number on that greed, look at this. Over 178 million Reichsmarks. That's the value of assets, gold, cash, jewels, stolen from the victims of just one single killing operation in Poland. This wasn't just murder. It was murder combined with systematic, industrial-scale theft. So after the war, the world was left to grapple with these crimes and somehow try to bring the people responsible to justice. But getting justice for the guys at the top? Well, that turned out to be a messy and inconsistent affair. Sure, some, like Kaltenbrunner, were tried and hanged at Nuremberg, but the main architect, Himmler, escaped the hangman by committing suicide, and others, like the infamous Adolf Eichmann, just vanished for decades before they were finally brought to justice. The final verdict at Nuremberg, though, was historic. The tribunal didn't just convict individuals. It declared the entire SS a criminal organization. And what that meant was that mere membership was now a crime. It condemned the whole ideological and political structure, from the very top to the very bottom. But even that official declaration didn't guarantee real accountability, not even close. Thousands of former members, from low-level camp guards to high-ranking officers, managed to escape justice. They just melted back into society or fled abroad, using networks that helped them start new lives under new names. And that leaves us with one final and really sobering question. The story of the SS is this dark, twisted lesson in how an organization that's created to protect a state can, through ideology and a lust for power, become the single greatest threat not just to that state's enemies, but to humanity itself.